Hello, what's up, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm standing in front of my brand spanking new custom built bookshelf. And if you've read the title of this video, you already know we are going to be decorating this bad boy today and basically putting books in her intended purpose. So I actually ordered this custom bookshelf back in April when I first moved into this place, and it's taken all this time to get done exactly the way I wanted to. Everything about this bookshelf is literally custom. I did all of the measurements, I provided all of the information to them, and that led us to this beautiful bookcase. So yeah, I think that's probably enough introduction. Let's just get into it and let's just get started. I'm in my Joan Didion needing a Coke before I do anything era right now, so cheers to that. Where do we even begin with this? I'm just gonna give it a good wipe before we get started. So I think we're going to start on this side, and actually this bottom shelf is really interesting because there is a special design philosophy behind it. So if you know me, you know I love a good coffee table book. I have quite a frightening collection of them, and that's why I basically had this shelf be extra tall with the idea of it being at least tall enough to have a coffee table book standing up, but eventually I would like to get a book stand so I can display my coffee table books standing up and open. However, at this moment I don't have a book stand yet. I kind of slacked on that one, but we will start by putting in the coffee table books first. So throughout this video I will kind of be using just piles of laying down books as book rests. I think it also adds a lot of visual interest to the shelf, but it's also mainly so the books don't fall over. I'm not a huge fan of actual book rests, like the statues and stuff that are made to hold books. So I think this is the more practical and more aesthetically pleasing solution. I wasn't kidding when I said I had a lot of coffee table books, okay? And this isn't even all of them. Some of them are upstairs in the study. So I do think that's looking quite well, but you know what that needs? It needs a bare plate. No questions asked. Shall we move the shelf up? Okay, I kind of lied. We're doing the bottom left now. So here you can see I'm using two books as a book rest again. And then on top I'm just putting some various like small photo albums and small booklets. And then also this small jewelry box that I got from my grandma. She's very nice. That's gonna go right there. And what I'm also gonna do is that with every bookshelf above this, I'm gonna put the books at different levels to give it some visual interest. Let's do the middle shelves, shall we? So for this part of the shelf, I'm straight up just going to be grabbing a pile of books from one of my other bookshelves. And that's going to be mainly vintage books and thrifted books. And just thrift books in general. Something missing there. And once again, a makeshift book rest. And I think we are going to do the decorations for that in a second. But let's do the other side first. Welcome back to day 2 of this video. Last time I was filming, my neighbors thought it was a good idea to start drilling. So we have returned to finish this business. Cheers. So last time we left off and we were gonna decorate this top shelf. So let's do that right now. Starting with this bad boy. This is a vintage 4x4 top-down viewer film camera that I recently got from my grandparents. She is literally so pretty and I think she's gonna be the book rest for this kind of section of books. And then up top, I'm adding this picture of a woman named Sybil Diosi. This is her in her presentation dress back in somewhere in 1900. So this is not a wedding dress, it's a presentation dress. She will go right here, I'm thinking. And then I'm also adding my grandpa and Lizzie Sedal. I think that's looking good. I also really wanted to add this to the lower shelf, but when the candles are this high, it's not gonna fit. So alternatively, I have a chessboard. No, these pieces aren't being held up by witchcraft, it's magnets. Or is it? Looks good like that. And I think that's the end of the actual decorating part of the video, but I do want to give you some book recommendations before we go. So from the coffee table books, I'm gonna have to recommend you anything by Dora Maar. Basically, Dora Maar shot one of my favorite photographs of all time, and she's just a master of surrealism, both crafted surrealism and found surrealism in photography. I highly recommend you also look up her attitudes towards photography and like commercial photography, because it's really interesting to read about. And this one, The Years Lie in Wait for You, is my favorite photograph of all time. I really, really love this, and just her work in general. And of course, I'm also gonna have to recommend The Secret History. This is like the Dark Academia Bible. If you call yourself an enjoyer of dark academia, or a dark academic, I suppose, and you have not read this, what are you doing? This was quite literally the foundation for the entire aesthetic and the entire kind of movement. And it's really, really, really good. Highly recommend this. From the middle shelf, I can really vouch for this book. This is called Vampires, Genesis and Resurrection by Christopher Frayling. Now, you really know that this is a really good book on vampires because it includes all the classics in it. Side note, I wanted to point out how cute this little bug is. I've literally been saving this for so long because this is one of my favorite things I own, and I just knew it had to be on the bookshelf because look how cute that is. That is so stinking adorable. Also, the rock that is next to it is not just a random rock. This is a worry stone from the river near the town where I grew up. I got this for my parents when I had exams as like a worry stone. So that's why it's here. Then of course I also have to recommend something by Joan Didion. This is The Year of Magical Thinking, which I recently devoured. Major trigger warning for death and grief in general in this one. This is actually a really interesting book because in the Joan Didion documentary, they mentioned that this was basically one of the first books on grief and mourning from a non-believer's standpoint. And so it's kind of revolutionary in its own right, and it's also really gripping, really well written. I love anything Joan Didion does, and I devoured this in like a week, so it's really good. Then a more recent addition to the collection, I have Gothic, an illustrated history here. Look, if you're a huge Gothic fan like I am, like Gothic literature, Gothic horror, Gothic architecture, this is so good. It goes in all directions of Gothic culture in that sense, literally starting at architecture and ruins and talking about literature and film and Buffy and monster films and all of that kind of stuff. And it's actually a really diverse guide because it talks about the Gothic genre from a non-Western standpoint as well. It kind of explores what Gothic means in the North, what it means in the East, in the South, and in the West. So it's really interesting and I'm really enjoying it so far. And then rounding off this video with yet another kind of basic recommendation, which is the picture of Dorian Gray. If you are a keen viewer, you might have noticed there's 2 copies of this book on this bookshelf. That's how good it is. I myself have furiously scribbled and underlined in this very copy, and it's just a dark academia classic as well as just a very accessible classic in general. So I highly, highly recommend this. Cannot recommend it enough. Probably one of my most recommended books ever. Also, if you are wondering where all the colorful books are, don't worry, that's what this lovely cabinet down below is for. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!